All right, let's dive into a massive paradox that's shaking up the entire world of design. On one hand, the actual profession, the discipline of being a designer, seems to be shrinking. But on the other hand, the core idea, the very meaning of what design is becoming more powerful than ever. And the force behind this huge shift, you guessed it, artificial intelligence.
I mean, just listen to this statement for a second. The title designer may fade, but design thinking and sensibility will continue to shape human civilization. That's a pretty bold claim, right? The job title itself might just disappear from business cards, but the way designers think could become a part of everything we do. So this isn't about the death of design. It's more like an evolution. So how on earth did we get to this massive turning point?
Well, to really understand where we're going, we've got to take a quick look back at where we've been. For most of modern history, design was all neatly organized into these separate, specialized fields. It was a world built on silos, completely walled off from each other. You had your product design, your visual design, fashion, and on and on. And these weren't just labels for a college major. They were like their own distinct languages. They were built around specific tools and specific industries. So if you were a product designer, you spoke the language of manufacturing. A visual designer, you spoke the language of print and media. You stayed in your lane.
But then, toward the end of the 20th century, people started to realize that these silos were becoming a real problem. The market started demanding people with more integrated, multidisciplinary talents. So, universities tried to adapt. They launched all these interdisciplinary programs to create more well-rounded designers. But for all their good intentions, these experiments, they mostly just failed to take root.
Which, of course, brings us to the big question. If everyone seemed to agree that integration was the future, why did these efforts fail so consistently? What was stopping the revolution?
Well, it turns out it wasn't just one thing, but 4 major roadblocks. First up, the faculty. The professors themselves were specialists, so how could they teach students to be generalists? Second, these programs were incredibly expensive and needed a kind of flexibility that most big institutions just don't have. Third, it put a massive burden on the students, who are expected to master a much broader range of skills. And finally, and this is the real kicker, the job market, even though it said it wanted generalists, would almost always hire the specialist who could do one thing perfectly.
So if all the internal efforts to break down these walls failed, what possibly could? The answer, it turns out, came from an external force, one that isn't just suggesting integration, it's making it absolutely mandatory. And that force, of course, is AI. And this is the fundamental shift. We used to see AI as just another tool in the toolbox, right? Kind of like Photoshop, but for different tasks. Something to help a specialist work faster. But the new reality is completely different. AI is now an interdisciplinary colleague. It's a creative partner that works across all these different fields, and by its very nature, it breaks down the boundaries that defined all those old disciplines.
And this isn't just happening inside the world of design. AI is erasing these lines everywhere. A designer's work is now bleeding into marketing, into software development, into sales. An AI can generate a product concept, then turn around and write the marketing copy, and then even code a working prototype. The silos we've been talking about, they are completely collapsing.
This massive AI-driven disruption forces us to ask a really deep question. If AI can handle all the specialized technical tasks, what is the purpose of the human designer? It means we have to move beyond thinking about design as a discipline and get back to its true, timeless essence. So what is design in the age of AI? Seriously, if it's no longer just about creating the final visual output, what are we really talking about? What is left for us humans to do?
Here's a powerful way to redefine it. Design is the act of structuring and materializing how humans interact with the world. Think about that. Notice it's not about the artifact, the thing you make. It's about the interaction. It's about shaping an experience and creating meaning. And that's not just a job title. That's a fundamental human activity.
So what this means is that the skills that really matter now are more abstract, more, human. We're talking about a humanistic approach, a deep understanding of people, empathy. We're talking about design thinking, strategic problem solving, and asking those big questions about identity and meaning. And here's the real punchline. These skills are becoming essential not just for designers, but for pretty much everyone.
And that brings us to the final big takeaway here. The old siloed discipline of design is fading away, basically being made redundant by AI. But the meaning of design, that core idea of solving human problems with empathy and creativity, that is more critical now than ever before. So the real question becomes, as the title designer starts to disappear from our business cards, how will we all learn to wield the incredible power of design thinking?